Hello, thank you for joining me for another video beer review then. So today we've got a beer from America, from Michigan, and it's from the North Peak Brewing Company. And it's a can of their Havoc Fresh Coast IPA. So this one's clocking at 7.4% ABV and 74 IBUs on this one. So a bitter beer, so a 12 fluid ounce 355ml can. So yeah, let's see what this is all about. I did try this at the London Craft Beer Festival just a week ago. So, but you know how it is with when you try a lot of beers within a short period of time. Sometimes it's remembering what they're all about. So, so thank you for the people who very kindly gave me this beer. I really do appreciate it. They didn't have to do that, but it was very, very kind of them. So yeah, so thanks for the Brewers Association. Appreciate it very much. So let's crack this beer open then. This beer's been out of the fridge about 20 minutes or so. So sometimes you get more aromas and flavours, you know, after it. Even on pails, I find I've just kind of been mucking around with just try a beer straight out the fridge as opposed to maybe 20 minutes or so after. And yeah, for me it feels like this is I'm getting a lot more out of it. So a bit carbonated, a bit of an aggressive pour there. So it's got a slight kind of haze to it, but nothing crazy. As I say, it's more going along the lines of a West Coast. I'm not too sure, but obviously with 74 IBUs and a beer that looks like this, it's going to be a little bit more leaning. Maybe a Midwest IPA, whatever. So head's going down rapidly, a finger and a half of white head then. Tightly packed on top, but some looser, bigger bubbles sort of halfway down the head there. So it's going to dissipate quite quickly. It's got quite a lot of carbonation there, as you can see. So certainly for the style of beer, that is. So yeah, we'll see how we go with this one. We'll get a little bit of swirl and a sniff then. See what it's all about. I'll go into the hops in a minute. And yeah, it's got a nice, it's like a lemony drop, slight kind of dank pine, grapefruit kind of edge. Almost like a slight savoury nose on this one as well. Subtle. It's got a little bit of kind of that hop oil presence as well, kind of resiny. Maybe a little bit of that kind of crushed pine needle. But it's also got, you know, a reasonable amount of that kind of citrusiness, obviously grapefruit. Slightly kind of jammy, but not crazy on the nose at least. But we'll see what we get on the flavours then. So, cheers. Oh yeah. Bit of a bitter kick straight off the bat. Yeah, rasping bitterness. This is definitely not your New England style for sure. This is more kind of what when I started drinking craft beer or better beer, I'd like to say. I don't like the terms craft beer, real ale. I don't like them sort of brackets that you put beer in. Better beer then, if you like. This is pretty much all there was for a while in the UK when I started, at least. I mean, it started in America a bit before I was getting into this sort of thing. I mean, I used to generally drink Belgian beers, so where I live and stuff, it's, you know, a bit more accessible and been around for longer. So beers like this were, when they came out, it was purely kind of West Coast style, and wow, you know, big bold bitterness, a bit like this. So this all kind of haze craze has kind of slowly crept in, probably about 8-9 years ago in the UK at least. Anyway, waffling on. Back to this beer. It's leaving a nice lacing, which is always a nice sign. Good conditioning. It's got quite a, as I say, quite a lot of carbonation in this. So, but I do think that's helping the beer to a degree. It's helping that kind of the overall experience of flavours. Yeah, a real piney grapefruit, and then bitter. A little bit of it's like an apricot. There's a slight kind of apricot in there, maybe a touch of apricot jam, but it's not one of those. I think the bitterness is quite dialed up in this, and then it's them hop profiles are there, but still very, very nice. Definitely my kind of style of IPA. I could drink beers like this every day. Well, when I do drink, every day then. But no, I could drink beers like this certainly once a week at least, for sure. When I do have a few beers, I could definitely do more than one of these. I do like the name Havoc. It's I think that's related to what it's going to do to your palate. But if you're not used to bitter IPAs, this probably isn't for you. But fortunately, I love them. So yes, look at the lacing. That's pretty impressive. Let's see what it says then. We get some more details of what hops are in this. Then we go straight to the hops. The unique profile of Chinook, Centennial, Simcoe, and Falconer's Flight and Mosaic hops create a tantalising mix of lemon, stone fruit, and tropical flavours with a subtle malt profile and high hop character. This IPA is sure to wreak havoc on your palate. So it's pretty much what I was kind of getting at there. And it is. It's one of those beers that is really old school. Old school. There's nothing modern, I'd say, whatever modern is these days. I mean, modern West Coast aren't particularly bitter. For me, this doesn't fall into that kind of category where everything's dialed down bitterness wise, but then they still call things, a West Coast IPA. This, I assume, is still kind of. I mean, I don't know how old the brewery is. So they've been around since 1997. So yeah, this is definitely more in the kind of old school West Coast realm for an IPA, and it kind of comes through, because the amount of bitterness in it. I think anything above 70 IBUs this day and age, it's more, not always, but it's more than likely not going to be a brewery that's very young. It's going to be an older brewery. That's my experience anyway. A lot of the new modern craft breweries that have been around, say 5-10 years or whatever, a lot of if they do West Coast, they're going to be a lot more dialed back. That's just something I've picked up on over certainly the last, since West Coast IPAs have kind of come back a little bit in recent years. They're dialed back a hell of a lot on the bitterness scale. But obviously this one isn't. So anyway, one more sip. That is a lovely, lovely beer. My kind of IPA. I do like that bitterness there. It's giving it a real kick. It lets you know that it means business. It lets you know that it's not one of them soft IPAs. This one is, you're drinking a beer with this. For me, it's not about ABV. If you're calling it a West Coast, give it a minimum of 70 IBUs. But that's just my palate. The trouble is, everyone's become acclimatised to the New England haze craze, and they can't handle bitterness like they used to be. There's not too many breweries. There probably is in America, but certainly the beers that we get in the UK from America, there's not too many that, you know, that can kind of claim that. But yeah, awesome stuff. So yeah, I think it's the first beer I've had from this brewery. So North Peak Brewing Company. I say they're out of Michigan. So and this is their Havoc Fresh Coast IPA. Assertive, hop heavy, and aromatic. So let me know if I've had this one before. Then as I say, this has been at the London Craft Beer Festival and probably the other two beer festivals in Manchester and Bristol this year, I would imagine. So let me know if you've had this one, if you're from the UK or if you're from the States, if you live up there in Michigan. Let me know what you think if you've had this one before. And there's any other beers from this brewery that you think, oh, you should try this if you like this. Have a go at that. And I'll kind of make a note, and you never know. Highly unlikely I get to try them because obviously what it is, States and stuff. But yeah, let me know down below. Thanks for watching. See you on the next review. Cheers.